New here at 4 o'clock. For the first time in Chicago history, an Asian American woman has been picked to serve on the city council. Mayor Lightfoot made the announcement in Bridgeport this afternoon.
She introduced Nancy Lee as the replacement for former Alderman Patrick Daley Thompson, who was convicted on tax charges last month. WGN's Mike Lowe joins us live from Bridgeport with more. Mike.
Ben and Lourdes, good afternoon to both of you. Nicole Lee is the pick. She is leaving a high-powered corporate job at United Airlines to come back and serve the people of the ward in which she grew up. And she's making history in the process.
Somewhere in Chicago, a Chinese or Asian American child is going to see her face, is going to hear her voice, and know that the seeming impossible is actually possible.
Mayor Lori Lightfoot made history Thursday.
Holy cow, this is really happening.
When she appointed Nicole Lee to the vacant 11th Ward City Council seat.
Overall, what guides me is a really simple goal in life, and that's just to do good in the world.
The lifelong Chicagoan was chosen from 27 applicants, and if confirmed, would become the first Asian American woman ever to serve on the Chicago City Council.
I can't wait to get to work to make the 11th Ward even better.
She graduated from Whitney Young in 1992, the University of Indiana in 96, and earned a master's degree from the University of Chicago in 2005. She went on to hold corporate and community service positions at United Airlines, Premier Bank, the Chinese American Mutual Aid Association, and BP. The 11th Ward on the South Side has long been the stronghold of the city's most powerful political dynasty. Former Alderman Patrick Daley Thompson is the grandson of Richard J. Daley and the nephew of Richard M. Daley, Chicago's two longest-serving mayors. Lee's father, Gene Lee, served as Mayor Richard M. Daley's deputy chief of staff and pleaded guilty to embezzlement and tax fraud.
Nicole's her own person. That's how her parents raised her to be. She stands on her own 2 feet.
The 11th is one of the city's most racially and ethnically diverse wards, with large white, Asian, and Hispanic Latino populations. Lee will meet with the council committee this week, and her appointment will go to the full council for a vote on Monday.
I know that the 11th Ward residents are looking for a leader that's transparent, accountable, and operates with integrity. I know this because I'm one of those residents.
And Lee is a single mother of two who says she never intended to get into politics. As for whether or not she'll try and run for this seat again, she says she's going to focus on getting confirmed on Monday, doing a good job, and then she'll worry about the February 2023 election. Reporting live this afternoon in Bridgeport, Mike Lowe, WGN News.
Okay, so she picked the United Airlines executive. Boy, oh boy, we talked about this Tuesday night, Ed and I was really wondering if she was even going to pick an Asian American to begin with, but she picked Michelle Lee. So that's the update on what's happening in the 11th Ward, which we're going to talk about tonight. Welcome, everybody, to the Friday night edition of Chicago Corner with myself, Oreo over here, and our esteemed colleagues who are going to jump in here in just a second. Let me get them set up here. Mr. Kit Cabello.
Cheers and salutations.
And Mr. Edward Heller.
Hi, everybody.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Ed. So before we go on, though, I want to ask you guys, actually, I want to ask our viewing audience also, if any of you have gotten one of these lately. I don't know how she got my number, but she's gone from my email now into my text messaging. And I found that particular message really interesting as far as it relates to some of the environmental stories we're going to cover more towards the end of the show. Kit?
I have a theory. Mayor Lightfoot's been hearing us, observing us, and she's like, that Jerry Vasilatos, that Kit Cabello, and that Edward Heller, I'm going to shake them down and ask them to donate to my campaign. And maybe then they'll like me. And the answer is hell no.
I can only. Oh, whoa! Look who else just jumped in. Willie Wilson, apparently his second go. The mayoral campaigns are starting up, everybody. From Willie Wilson giving away the free gas to Lori bugging everybody in their emails and text messages.
I'm going to make a prediction, all right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing. If I'm wrong, Jerry and Edward, I'm saying this live in front of everyone, I'll take you two out to get a pizza dinner, all right? Okay. A pizza bet, right? So there we go. But I think that this mayoral election is going to be the biggest clown show in Chicago's history.
Even bigger than last time.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
I think it's going to be a clown show.
No,
right?
let's just forget that bet. Well, I'll just make pizza over at my place.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
You know why?
You know what?
I can't argue with you, Kit. I think you're absolutely right. I think that's exactly what we're looking at.
It's like it's the deluxe clown car with the extended cab.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, you know what? That sounds better. How about this? No matter
I would say,
Edward, I want some of your Chicago-style pizza. That's what we're going to do. Because that's the only way we're going to get through this nightmare. I think this election is going to be a goddamn freaking nightmare. It's going to be a nightmare, but it's going to be hilarious too. Because I'm curious to see if Willie Wilson's going to run again.
Of course he is. It's not if. It's when.
I have to interview him, Jerry. I have to do that follow-up.
Well, let me join you because I want to do an interview with him too.
Okay, done deal.
We'll
make it happen.
We'll ambush him somewhere. Kathy, I did respond to her in that text. I said, "How did you get this number?" She didn't respond though. So,
yeah, or you go with
I
new
got
phone.
so
Who
many
this?
people on you, Jerry. So many people.
You know,
on you.
honestly, Kit, I only wish she knew about me or us over here. I mean, I hope she does. I doubt that she does, but maybe in time she will. Maybe in time as we get more out in the field and start vetting and interviewing other more capable candidates. Now, going to this Michelle Lee nomination, though. Okay, so I'm sorry, Nicole Lee. I watched the whole press conference. Did you guys have a chance to watch it also?
I managed to skim through it the other day.
Here's the thing.
Go ahead.
I don't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, Jerry. You go.
No. So look, she impresses me as having her heart in it, but everything that the guy said in the report that I just ran, her father Gene formerly served as deputy chief of staff for Mayor Richard M. Daley. So with Patrick Daley Thompson leaving the 11th, what's really changing there? She left a very high-paying job at United Airlines because obviously there's going to be a lot of power and green in this position, whether her heart's in it or not. When we talked about this Tuesday, Ed, I was like, wow, a United Airlines executive, why would they want to leave their job? Why would they want to leave their job? Because there's going to be power, there's going to be money, there's going to be influence. And given the fact that
she can do it from her own neighborhood.
That's right. Plus, there are ties with the Daley organization. So I really wonder how much is going to change as far as what that old power in Chicago wants in that ward, in that neighborhood near Bridgeport. Her father also pled guilty in 2014 to stealing $92,000 from a pair of Chinatown charities. He was given probation. Now, I want to share when someone brought that up at the press conference, or someone wanted to bring it up at the press conference. And before Nicole Lee could answer for herself, Mayor Lightfoot decided to answer before allowing her to speak up. So I just found this very interesting in the way like Lightfoot is like kind of covering her choice here by admonishing the reporter.
The question was made to the mayor, and I would bring it to you about much has been. I would bring it to you, Nicole. Much has been made about your father and his time with Daley and some of that. And you talked about how you admired your dad and he was a role model for you. Can you just talk about that?
Yeah.
No. I'm going to answer the question first.
As I said,
and look at that glare.
Yeah, right there. Anger.
Yep.
So much anger.
How dare you? How dare you?
How dare you?
She loves her kids, her brother, her family. This is about her life, her experience, and how she's going to do in leading this ward in this challenging time. So I hope the question is specific to her and
Okay, so she's her own person whose father served the Daley administration. Fair enough. I know where we're going here. It's like Lisa Madigan. She wasn't corrupt like her father. However,
no, she was her own kind of corrupt, though.
Right. But what influences were there in place to get Nicole this position that were left over from perhaps her father's influence or connection with the Daley family and Patrick Daley Thompson already being the alderman in that ward until they took him down? I just think that there's like a lot of connect the dots here. I look on her face, on its face from her press conference. I'm willing to give her a chance. However, you cannot look past the fact that her dad served Daley. The Daleys controlled this ward. Her father was was charged with pleading guilty to stealing money from a charity. Now, yeah, the sins of the father have nothing to do with the daughter or the kids, but I don't know, man. It's like this was her top choice. An executive was making a lot of money at United Airlines instead of everybody else that had no connection to the Daleys. The press conference was a big stroke fest, I thought, with all of the rounds of applause.
It was a joke. It was the biggest joke I've ever seen in my entire life. Come on. Yeah. And here's the thing. There's a problem with Chicago politics. We all know what it is. It's corruption, nepotism, neoliberalism. All of that, right? And the thing is, who is replacing the former alderman from the Daley dynasty? Someone who is the daughter or relative or friend who is associated with the Daley dynasty.
Exactly.
And this person, look, I hope she is an honorable person. I really do hope. I hope unto hope. But hey, hope is the first path to disappointment. So what I want to say to this new alderwoman is this. You came from a corporate job. That right there is a big red flag for me. It's a big question mark. What is your loyalty to the people on the south side of Chicago? What will you contribute to the people on the south side of Chicago that have been victims of environmental racism, corruption, political abuse, police brutality? The south side of Chicago needs to be developed. Are you going to contribute that? Are you going to break away from that? And I hope you are different than your father, because no one should be judged on their parents, right? I hope that you are going to be that person. If not, move out the way for somebody that will care for the city. So I wish you all the best. That's the thing. I say this with my heart. I wish her all the best. But a couple of red flags are right now signaling. And it's not fair to her because we shouldn't judge her on her parents. But again, her father was with the Daley administration, or the former Daley administration. And she's got a corporate job. I got to call that into question because we've been lied to enough by these politicians.
It's very, very hard to give benefit of the doubt when you see these red flags, and hopefully she will rise above them. And these red flags that we're concerned about, which we've seen literally as patterns with other people that are appointed to positions. She also said in the press conference, they asked her if she was going to run when the election started. And I will give her credit. She said she's got to prove herself first before she considers running. Right now, this is an appointment. Unfortunate that, they can't allow the citizens in the ward to vote fast. I mean, maybe all this new electronic voting that they're going to integrate in city council, if they ever have a vacancy given to another alderman, like getting pinched by the feds, there'll be some kind of electronic voting system in place ward by ward where they can allow the citizens of the ward to vote for someone instead of let the mayor appoint somebody. I mean, that's probably far off, and I'm sure that they wouldn't want that because the mayor selecting who she wants in whatever ward she's allowed to appoint to, she's able to control whatever loyalty she has with that person.
And also with electronic voting, you may have some chain of custody issues.
That's true too.
It's one thing if when you're doing it inside the city council, inside basically a closed circuit kind of a deal.
Yeah.
When you go and try to do that like on a ward by ward basis, then you run into a number of hurdles in there. Anyway, but as far as this appointment goes. Yeah, we definitely had a lot of red flags up front with this appointment. We definitely need to see what she's going to do, but she, and hopefully she understands the amount of privilege that she had been given to get the leg up to even be nominated for this.
There you go.
And so if she's going to do good for her ward, then more power to her. If she's going to fall into all of those same Chicago machine traps where she starts doing favors for her dad's friends.
Yep.
That's where we got to keep an eye out for that.
And who are we talking about on Tuesday? Who was the city clerk? What was her? I'm forgetting her name now. Who's Scott, the husband, who's the lobbyist? Valencia. Yeah. Same kind of thing. Is this going to be a situation where Lee's going to be doing favors and we're going to hear the same song and dance? That they're open to the ethics issues or the ethics questions or reforms or stuff, while they just continue to give favors to the people that they're aligned with, nepotism. Let me read a little bit from what Alex Nitkin wrote from the Daily Line here that was also reported by Black Club Chicago, as far as some more details on her that weren't covered in that report. Less than a day after Mary Lori Lightfoot said she needed more time to settle on a pick to succeed convicted Alderman Patrick Daley Thompson in the city council, she announced she had settled on United Airlines executive and Chinatown native Nicole Lee as her pick, which meant that when she was asked the day before, she already knew. She had made the decision. She just didn't want to disclose it because they wanted to have the big celebration today.
She needed more time.
Yeah.
Is what she said.
Yeah.
And then she takes what, 8 hours?
Yep. If confirmed by the full city council in the coming weeks, Lee will replace Thompson after he was forced to resign from his city council seat after he was convicted of tax fraud. We knew about that. Nicole Lee has spent her life expanding and amplifying 11th Ward issues and voices, Lightfoot wrote in a statement late Thursday morning. Her dedication to empowering communities and building coalitions is evident in her career and in her involvement in a variety of community organizations. She's the right choice to make sure the 11th Ward residents are fully represented on the Chicago City Council. According to state law, Thompson became ineligible to hold public office the moment he was convicted on February 14th. Now, Lightfoot's choice was first reported by the Tribune on Thursday. The City Council Committee on Committees and Rules scheduled an in-person meeting for 12:30 p.m. Monday to take up the appointment. It will be immediately followed by a full vote in the City Council. Now, in her resume, which was publicly posted by the mayor's office alongside those of the 26 other applicants, Lee described herself as an Asian American leader born and raised in Chinatown. So in answer to your question, Kathy, in the chat, yeah, she does still live there. I believe she still lives there. She said she was born and raised there. Actually, you know what, Kathy? I believe I made a mistake. I know that she was born and raised there. I don't know if she's living there presently, but I guess we're going to find that out. A graduate of Indiana University with a master's degree from the University of Chicago's Harris School of Public Policy, Lee has worked at United as its Director of Social Impact Optimization and Community Engagement since 2008. So she's good at public relations. Community engagement. It's just what Lightfoot needs help with. The role entails managing the company's global portfolio of nonprofit partnerships and its social impact strategy, including its charitable giving or charitable taking in the case of her father. Dude,
that was me. It was
he robbed the charity. He robbed the charity, 2 charities in Chinatown. The bio of Lee's personal Twitter account reads,
Working mama.
Working
wanna
mama.
Be badass.
Wanna be
professional do-gooder. Chicago girl.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how she sounds.
See, right now with everything you guys are saying, that's raising more red flags. I'm like, okay.
The attitude.
I want to hold out for hope. I kind of do. But then again, I'm reminded, wait a minute, stop. Lori Lightfoot's going to bat for this person now.
Yep.
Let
me go on. Let me go on. It
Jerry.
gets better. It gets better.
Jerry, to be fair,
yeah.
If her Twitter account reads that in her bio, my LinkedIn profile says deep dish pizza enthusiast.
Yeah, so, but you're not trying to become alderman of your ward.
Yeah.
And you care about deep dish pizza.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's true.
Big difference too.
Well, maybe she cares about being a badass. We don't know.
You know who she's an acquaintance of? Chicago-based political consultant David Axelrod.
Oh God.
No. Then I take back everything I
said. David Axelrod. Yeah, another Democratic Party operative.
Good luck. Good night and good luck, people. Take care. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Cassie, you're right. I want to hold out the audacity of hope.
Well, it does. It says acquaintance. It does not say friend.
Oh, come on. Acquaintance means she's acquaintance in the Democratic Party.
I'm
Okay, you're kidding.
trying to take the high road here, Jerry.
Well, I don't want to take
We want
the
to
low
give her
road,
a
but I mean, it
chance.
says a lot of red flags. A lot. We want to give her a chance with all these red flags that we normally see with other political appointees all the time. Lee described herself in her resume as seeking to expand and amplify Asian American issues and voices by empowering communities and building coalitions for a better Chinatown and Bridgeport and a more equitable Chicago. Might that also include giving Mayor Lightfoot everything she wants as far as development in the Chinatown community without the citizens there actually having anything to say about it?
Once again, Chicago Corner will have to pay attention to the activities of Chinatown.
One can only wonder. So prior to joining United, Lee spent a decade in the consulting and financial industries working as a development officer for Premier Bank from 2004 to 2007. She previously spent 3 years working as an internal consultant for the oil company BP America.
Oh, boy.
She also worked during
We
the same
really
period.
needed some red flag graphics for this show, didn't we?
Yeah, we do need some red flags, like
me too.
or either that, like
Waving red flag.
Okay,
or
I
either
got
like
around
the
for a
atomic
second.
symbol of a nuclear reactor melting down, like the alarm, like the whole thing's falling apart.
I
Come
think
on.
I think this is going to have to do for now. Okay, here we go. There's the red flag. Add you back. There you go.
All right, there you go. Well, that's the best we could do for the time being.
She also worked during the same period as an independent consultant, performing work for multiple different groups, including the Chinese Mutual Aid Association. All right. Well, we wish Nicole the best of luck. I hope she proves us in our snarky remarks wrong. I really do. But we're just going to have to take a wait and see attitude here.
No, seriously, though, I wish nothing but the best for the citizens of the 11th Ward, and I hope she works out for you.
Yeah, I do too. They could use a break, having had Thompson ruling the roost there for so long. All right, let me get into our next story here. Take that one down and bring this one up. So, stand by, guys. I'm switching screens here. So here, this is no big surprise. It shouldn't be any big surprise. Lightfoot says 5 years for sweeping police reforms was unrealistic as the city gets another 3 years. It's kicking the can down the road, as she often does. She's kicked the can down the road up till like now that election season is kind of ramping up, and now she's doing all these things. I know we had a pandemic that she was dealing with, but I just don't trust her. The mayor estimates the cost of completing those massive reforms will be between $50 million and $100 million. This comes reported through the Sun-Times by Frank Main. Chicago has been granted an extra 3 years to comply with sweeping court-ordered police reforms, extending the total, ready guys, 8 years. Mayor Lori Lightfoot defended the extension Friday, saying the previous time frame was unrealistic for massive changes she expects will have a price tag of at least $50 million.
Oh, now she's already preemptively saying that they're going to need to throw $50 million more dollars at an already overinflated CPD budget.
That's what she's saying. The city and Illinois Attorney General's offices agreed to the extension, which was approved Friday by U.S. District Judge Robert Dow. In addition to the 8 years the city is now getting to comply with the reforms, I was doing that when I was talking about the district judge who granted the extension. The Chicago Police Department will have to maintain them for 2 more years. This means the city could be under the 2019 court order for a decade. Dow said he's met with Lightfoot and Attorney General Kwame Raoul and feels they're on the same page on reforming the police department. Sure they are.
Okay.
He called the 8-year time frame an excellent target, along with all the people that the cops are going to inadvertently shoot during that 8 years.
Okay, so does that mean we need a new attorney general too?
saying he always thought 5 years wasn't doable. This is what the judge says. The consent decree stems from a 2017 lawsuit against the city by the Attorney General's office in response to the killing of Laquan McDonald. It seems everything in Chicago kind of circles back to Laquan McDonald.
It does. It was a big cover-up that the whole city participated in. And thank goodness those activists managed to capture the city with its pants down so that story could break. Everybody is connected with covering up that horrific murder.
We also have a debt of gratitude to the journalists who pressed forward with the Freedom of Information Act to get the information out that they were also covering up. Anyway, the consent decree stems from the 2017 lawsuit against the city by the Attorney General's office in response to the killing of Laquan McDonald, who was shot by Officer Jason Van Dyke in 2014. Van Dyke was fired and sentenced to prison, but he's out now. He's out. 5 years was just never realistic, Lightfoot said Friday in an interview with the Chicago Sun-Times. You know, most of these, it's 10 or 12. And frankly, there's some cities that had to do it twice, like Cleveland, New Orleans. I want to make sure that after all this time, money and expense, especially the money and expense, and really, capital at the end of this process, we've completely transformed our police department for the good, she said.
Most of the other cities dragged it out for a decade, and so, we didn't think it was realistic for us to not drag it out.
I did some digging on the mayor of New York, who she met with. He's another piece of shit.
Oh, well, here's the thing. All these politicians from New York to Chicago, they're all the same. They come from dynastic families or connected to dynastic families.
Yeah. So quite naturally,
she's in America, and yet Biden is saying, "Oh, it's oligarchy versus democracy." No, man, we've got oligarchs here, bro. Come on,
man. Come on, man. Get your eyes out of your ears. The guy, that guy that she's powwowing on how to fix violence in Chicago is another one that's that everyone's questioning his ethics and integrity. Lightfoot said other departments have spent between $50 million and $100 million to comply with similar consent decrees, and she expects Chicago to be in that range. One trade-off she hopes will be fewer civil rights lawsuits and fewer astronomical legal payouts. I think after another 8 years pending, it's going to completely what's the word? Guys, I don't know why I'm losing my train of thought here. The amount of lawsuits that we're going to have in 8 years is probably going to be more than she ends up spending by extending this for another 8 years. I think about the money that we spend historically on settlements, judgments, attorneys' fees, way over $1 billion. She said, "We're giving money out and getting very little in return." So are the citizens, Mayor Lightfoot.
She's worried about return for settlement. How about you end qualified immunity? You can start there.
Done. Just do it. There are nearly 800 reforms the Chicago Police Department is being required to fulfill under the consent decree. Los Angeles took 12 years to meet the requirements of the 2001 consent decree, and Detroit took 13 years. But, I don't think that they've got as much going on in their cities as we do here over the past decade with the stats.
Nobody should Google LASD gangs. Nobody do that.
The average for cities to comply with such court orders is about 10 years, according to Chicago officials. In Friday's court filing...
We actually got something from True Democracy Now! Who says, since police reform can only be possible through the mayor and city council that pays our police force, we should expect to have a police reform focused on new ways to cover up their criminal behavior.
That's right. That's the logical way to deal with things, Dominic. The TrueDemocracyNow.org. Thanks for sharing that. I'm sorry, I haven't been watching the live chat to pop things up because I've been reading from these articles. Kathy says it looks like we won't see the safety meetings and OMA violation. From the previous story, also Dominic shares, and I think that this is worth also sharing, even though we passed by that story. Lee's family and corporate history is spot on for being a ward boss. Yep. Those are all the red flags we were looking at. Let's see. Getting back to the article. In Friday's court filing, Chicago also agreed to add search warrants to the consent decree for the first time. The department last year launched reforms of its search warrant policy after the botched raid of Anjanette Young's department in 2019. Now Maggie Hickey, the federally appointed independent monitor of the decree, will ensure the policy is carried out. I don't expect to see massive. Yeah.
You're noticing how, recall how basically the city responds as a reactionary force, right?
Yep.
It's the only time it'll do anything is when something happens to force it. So Laquan McDonald was the first one. Anjanette Young is the next one. What's the next thing that has to happen to get them to stop dragging their feet on these reforms?
I mean, dragging their feet or kicking the can down the road even further from where they're dragging their feet now.
It's both right now.
Yeah. Yep.
And that could be why there's all the potholes.
Michelle Garcia, Deputy Legal Director at the American Civil Liberties Union of Illinois, said the 3-year extension approved by the court today simply recognizes reality. The city has failed to meet more than half the deadlines required under the decree during its first years of enforcement. So let's take this into account. They're kicking the can down the road another 3 years because they've failed to meet more than half the deadlines that were already set up, is the problem. Garcia said search warrants needed to be added to the decree. Given the harm and trauma these raids cause, judicial oversight is necessary to reform CPD's illegal practices and make systematic change. Police Department Superintendent Brown, in a briefing with reporters Wednesday, said he's pleased with the department's progress in coming into compliance with key reforms, especially on the use of force. Even though Hickey found the department was complying with more than half of the reforms at some level, others will take years to complete, he said. The department, for instance, sorely needs to improve its computer system, Brown said.
Okay, to be fair, we're all waiting on computer chips right now for all kinds of things in the economy.
But really,
that's no excuse for the number of years they've been dragging this
I'm going to tell you something. In 2020, their fucking computers should have been improved.
Yeah.
Before the pandemic, there's no excuse that their computers wouldn't have been upgraded. I'm on a computer from 2017 that I'm running the show on right now. It's a Mac laptop. Okay, if I can run this show and do all this stuff with the processing power I have, don't tell me that the computer chip shortage is why they haven't upgraded their system in probably decades.
It isn't. I'm just saying that if they were going to make an effort to ramp it up like within the last couple of years, then that's fair. But it's not fair because.
So here's what he says. I'm sorry. Let me just add, because this goes to your point, Ed. He says about $4 million has been set aside to start those computer improvements.
Okay,
$4 million have been set aside.
How long have they
$4
been
million? Wait a minute, these people don't know what the frick they're doing. Let me tell you something. When Daniel Upker and I started Heartlands Media, we had a Galaxy S7 cell phone. We've been squeezing every single penny to get to where we're at right now. There is no excuse, even with $4 million, that they couldn't be able to upgrade or do anything with your computer system. I don't want to hear that.
Don't you think it would make sense for the mayor to maybe dig into the TIF funds a little bit to help upgrade the police department's computer systems?
But Jerry, I'm saving those TIF funds for the second bean that I'm going to put on top of the other bean.
Gentlemen, hold on. The TIF funds should not be used for the CPD. The TIF funds, screw that. Let that be used for the schools and the communities. That should not go to the CPD. They need to figure it out.
I agree.
Lightfoot gave them all the federal COVID relief money.
Yeah.
Screw that. What is their damn excuse?
The point I'm making is we're not broke, whether it's TIF funds or whether it's COVID relief money that went to the wrong places.
Yeah, the city's sitting on a whole ton of funds that they're just not spending. Yep. What are they going to do with it, and why are they hoarding it?
I think I got an email. I think it was from Kathy that the Chicago Public Schools has a surplus of COVID relief funds that they're not using.
Yeah.
All right, so about $4 million has been set aside to start those improvements, but the cost will be much higher, probably in the tens of millions, Lightfoot said. The upgrade is part of a larger effort to improve all the computer systems in city government. We have not invested in our IT infrastructure in the city in any meaningful way, literally in decades. She even acknowledges it. We're propping up legacy systems that the manufacturers don't even support anymore. There's way too much money spent over time on one-off customized systems that, frankly, aren't getting the job done.
this city had all kinds of tech incubators going on over the
Right?
last decade. How did they not make this happen?
Priorities, Ed.
Oh, for the LaSalle renovation, LaSalle Street renovation. There you go. There's that.
Brown said
Wait,
another.
wait. I can't believe this just hit my head right now. My goodness. Hold on. You guys want to hear a story about how the city's so incompetent in regards towards, especially the federal government, how incompetent it is towards computer systems? A long, long time ago, in the early 2000s. Hey, what's happening, Willie Wilson? I saw, and this was the early 2000s, the records at the VA hospital, right? All of that was still paper. None of that was electronic. Early 2000s, like 2010, maybe 2011 at the bare minimum, the latest. That's what I saw a long time ago. A long, long time ago. Our city is woefully ill prepared for anything here. Like, the thing is, the systems are so inadequate. It's pathetic. The TIF funds should be used for our schools. This city is not broke. The country's not broke. You know, it's choosing not to do. It's choosing not to invest in its people. It's choosing not to invest in its social programs. And we are stuck in this nightmare with this endless red bureaucratic tape.
Yep, I'm not going to argue that. Look, we know how fucked up this whole situation is with delaying the reforms. In the meantime, you know, she's on her public tour to try and make it look like she's doing things, and but her town halls where she's, you know, trying to signal that she's in touch with the people are confusing residents more than doing any good. I found this interesting as far as a counterpoint to what we're hearing about her delaying the reforms, while she's, you know, wanting to do these town hall meetings and act like she's listening to what the citizens have to offer to actually make any kind of an effective change. So this comes to us from the tribe, and they also published a very, very interesting article about Lightfoot I'm going to get to after this, that I think explains much of the tone-deaf quality of her personality as far as leading Chicago as mayor. But let me go through this real quickly. This comes from Natalie Frazier, March 23rd. Mayor Lightfoot's West Side Community Safety Town Hall left residents with more questions than answers. Over the span of 2 weeks, Mayor Lori Lightfoot and her community safety coordination centers are holding a series of community safety town hall meetings in various neighborhoods across Chicago. We reported upon this about 2 weeks ago until they got postponed because she had to run, I think it was Miami, to raise money, and then she had to entertain the mayor of New York with the press conference to make it look like he had some good ideas on handling gang violence here. On March 19th, Lightfoot held what her team called the first of 6 in-person town hall meetings at Garfield Park Golden Dome Fieldhouse on the west side. In the initial March 2nd press release announcing the initiative, each town hall was scheduled to be a virtual event. The first town hall, which addressed public safety on the north and northwest sides, was scheduled virtually for March 9th. Garfield Park's town hall was originally scheduled as a virtual meeting for March 10th, but was later rescheduled for in-person, to much confusion after community members had already registered for the virtual one. The rescheduled date put the Garfield Park Town Hall a day after New York City Mayor Eric Adams and Lightfoot met privately to discuss possibilities for collaborating on issues affecting both cities. A barrage of media outlets, community stakeholders, alder people, and Chicago Police Department officers came out to the Garfield Park Town Hall on March 19 to discuss the city's approach to violence with collaboration in mind. City officials spoke with the public and answered questions on methods for improving public safety. The format also included a question and answer panel discussion with Lightfoot CPD Superintendent David Brown, Chicago Public Schools CEO Pedro Martinez. It's the murderer's row of Chicago politics. Chicago Department of Public Health Commissioner Dr. Allison Arwady, and more. What a lineup. Just before the Q&A session, Lightfoot gave a speech declaring that the community safety town halls and the CSCC's efforts are about being in concert with the community. However, the format of the Garfield Park Town Hall left collaboration between the packed room of attendees and city officials somewhat stifled. Community members were encouraged to discuss community safety issues among themselves and write out questions and ideas for officials following their discussion. With little instruction, the table conversations devolved into a plethora of off-topic debates, catch-up sessions, and dare I say, convenient opportunities for Lightfoot and police officials to take photos with community members. And yes, there is video. Let me bring it up here.
No.
In the back of the room. So first of all, somebody told me as I looked around the room and saw so many people, so many great conversations. I think it was all in the midst who said, "This is how we roll on the West Side."
This is how we roll.
It's always a great pleasure.
Platitudes. It's the mayor's town hall platitude tour.
An honor to be here on the West Side. And let me just tell you, my folks joke that I spend so much time on the West Side that I might as well take up residency. So maybe I'll do that at some point.
No, she won't.
Okay, so at the beginning of the meeting, Chicago's Chief Engagement Officer Martina Hone mentioned creating a collaborative list of ideas for approaching public safety. However, this list was lost in the spectacle of Superintendent Brown's romance metaphors and Lightfoot's grandiose claims about loving the West Side. The latter is up for debate, considering that during Lightfoot's midterm interview with Tribe columnist Bella in May, Bella BAHHS in May of 2021, the mayor couldn't name any Black community spaces she claimed to frequent on the West Side. If Lightfoot and the CSCC truly wanted to collaborate with the community on such hot-button topic like crime and safety, they should have ditched the stage and their mics and switched places with the community members. There's no equity around debate with us writing questions that we don't even know what the meeting is about, Troy Gaston lamented, as he attempted to think of a question as he waited for the meeting to begin. An East Garfield Park resident, he voiced his concerns about the town hall format while sitting at a table with other community members and community stakeholders. Most of the other tables in the room included at least one police officer. Lightfoot and other city officials even sat down at some tables briefly. The town hall commenced with an introduction from Hone, then brief speeches from Alderman Emma Mitz of the 37th Ward and Alderman Walter Burnett, Jr. of the 27th Ward, who both preside over West Side neighborhoods. Each of them made vague admissions about the lack of investment in infrastructure on the West Side, CPD's sordid relationship with the West Side, and the resiliency of West Side residents. This was followed by promises and calls for true collaboration between West Side community members and city officials. There's a nice slideshow going on there. In the 20 minutes following the introduction, Hone haphazardly introduced every notable guest she recognized. Finally, she directed community members to explore the question submission sheets and blank community safety lists before initiating the 30-minute roundtable discussions for each table. At a table that included some members of the press, alongside North Lawndale and Austin residents, community members introduced themselves and had brief discussions about gang activity in North Lawndale. They then complained about the lack of promotion for the town hall. Judy, a longtime resident and first lady of a church in North Lawndale, said she hadn't received any notice about the meeting until 11 p.m. on March 18th, the night before. She discovered the digital flyer for the Garfield Park Town Hall in a community engagement email thread. Two other residents at Judy's table, Tom and Gerald Wicker, added that after registering for the initial virtual event, they never received any official notice that the event was rescheduled for in-person. Okay, so here's my theory on why they changed from virtual to in-person. I think that the video kind of demonstrates it's a platitude PR tour where the mayor and Brown and all these people can get up and stand up on these podiums and act like they give a shit with all of this just utter confusion surrounding them that's really not going to solve anything as far as input from the community. At both Judy and Gaston's table, community members discussed ideas such as cleaning and beautifying neighborhoods, alternatives to having the police show up for mental health crises, funding for community members returning from prison, and innovative ways to simplify cannabis-related licensees for Black and Brown people. These valuable ideas may have not been in concert with Lightfoot's plans, but were worth city officials hearing. After 30 minutes of allotted roundtable discussion, which was really an hour if you count the time CPD and Lightfoot milled around taking photos and shaking hands, city officials finally took the stage. Hone instructed help staff to collect the last questions from each table and began to sift through the questions and consolidate them into piles. She prompted city officials to respond to 6 questions she thought best encompassed what community members were asking and feeling. Topics included mental health resources, rebuilding trust between the West Side and police, and root causes of violence. There's a video. Let me see what we hear here.
the one that was written by Corinne Smith, because she captured everyone's comments and her question. How are you really addressing root causes of violence when you spend more on the police than you spend on
How are you going to approach the root causes of violence when you spend more on the police than you do the communities?
Outstanding.
Somebody asked that.
Outstanding question to ask. And it should be putting the mayor and everybody in her administration on their toes, because this administration has failed this city miserably. She's turned a blind eye to police corruption. She has given that COVID relief money to, again, the CPD, and nothing has fundamentally changed. So good. The people of Chicago see how much of a fraud Lightfoot is. She cannot be reelected. She just can't. We need somebody new, but I dread to think who else will be a replacement, though. Kathy Powers is right. They should all resign.
I'm going to quote from the article here from Tribe, just because I'll play the video also and see if we can hear, but I also want to parse it ahead of time what we're supposed to hear, depending on what the audio quality is on the video. City officials mostly use the questions as launch pads to discuss new campaigns, opinions, and advice for community members. Hone took a deep breath and stated that there were many questions pertaining to defunding the police. She asked city officials how they were committed to preventative measures for violence when CPD receives more funding than housing and education combined, which we just saw. I fundamentally reject defunding the police, Lightfoot stammered. There are only 3 ways for Black and brown people to assuredly walk into the middle class: fire, cops, teachers. A community resident yelled out sardonically, not teachers. Lightfoot doubled down on her conviction, adding that Black people should be taking advantage of these opportunities. In a question about funding alternatives to police for mental health crises, Arwady mentioned an upcoming quote-unquote unspoken campaign for destigmatizing mental illness. This mention of a half-baked campaign with little more than a webpage felt like an attempt to offer the community something concrete after an hour of platitudes and performance.
So we're going to destigmatize mental illness, but we're not going to reopen the clinics.
Nope.
Is that what's going on?
Yes.
We're just going to do. We're going to do some TV ad campaigns that says it's okay to be a little goofy.
Ed, the cops need that money for overtime to arrest more Black and brown people. Come on.
It's fine, Chicagoans, if you're having some issues dealing with the terrible things going on in this world. It's perfectly fine. We just have to destigmatize the fact that everyone's really having a trouble dealing with it. And this ad was partially funded by, I don't know who's funding these ads in Chicago these days.
I'm not sure. I haven't followed.
The banks.
The banks, yeah.
The banks.
The banks, and of course LaSalle Streets. There you go.
Local bank.
Chicago Public Library Commissioner Chris Brown thanked Lightfoot for helping city libraries expand Sunday hours across more branches. In a question about building trust between CPD and the community, Superintendent Brown declared that his department had damaged its relationship with the community and bemoaned, "We are committed to you taking us back." An attendee stood up and yelled, "We take you back," to an uproar of applause and laughter.
Girl, don't take him back.
All right, so let me play a little bit more video here.
Was that offensive to say? I don't know.
Jesus Del Toro. What does mending the trust between police and community members look like? What needs to be done to get there? And then related to that, from Marina and Garfield Park, the most valuable resource is people, sort of what you were saying, Tamara. How do we work collaboratively to bring out the best in each one of our neighbors?
That's a really, really good question, the last part. I'll start and I'm going to ask the superintendent to jump in. Look, I think we live in a very difficult time. There's no question about it. And it was difficult way before COVID hit. But I think COVID has exacerbated a lot of tensions and frustration and anger that people have been feeling for a long time. And I know
or it's revealed it.
In this room about that.
Blah, 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 blah. She just talks and talks and talks and fills up time like that. I was recently, well, that's irrelevant.
She's trying to bore the audience.
Yeah.
And I do want to acknowledge something in the chat. AJ Vasilatos says Kit should run for mayor.
It's my dad.
Well, here's the thing, sir. First of all, Jerry's been doing a phenomenal job as the captain of Chicago.
Oh, come on. Thank you.
And then number two, because let's face it, Daniel and I trust Jerry to do a phenomenal job. He's been doing a great job. Number three, if I am going to become mayor of Chicago, I'm forming the Rubicon Party, and we're going to handle it like Julius Caesar did with Pompeian scum. So remember how Julius Caesar handled Pompey? That's how I'm handling my campaign. No matter how this campaign ends, we're crossing that Rubicon. Me and my legion.
Oh, Ed, Kathy has an answer to who those commercials were funded by.
Funded by United Airlines. Most of our planes work.
Suspiciously familiar to
So says Nicole Lee.
Story that we covered.
So what exactly did we learn at the West Side Community Safety Town Hall? The CSCC is the multi-level agency coordination behind the town hall. It is an effort by Lightfoot to connect and guide the public safety efforts of CPD, CPS, CPL, and the Chicago Park District. With the Park District, have they cleaned up all their sex scandals there yet? From last year, is that all over with yet? Maybe they need to do some internal house cleaning before banding all these organizations together. Through the CSCC, Lightfoot's administration claims it will take a pandemic approach to improving Chicago's public safety by addressing root causes of violence. Now they're going to address the root causes because it's election.
Pandemic approach.
The CSCC is supposedly committed to violence prevention on the West Side through repairing the relationship with police, offering alternatives to police such as more trauma-informed centers of care and expanding resources. However, as far as concrete plans, goals, and explicit pathways for community involvement, there's still much left to be desired. "We're here with you for the long haul," Lightfoot declared. If upcoming community safety town halls continue with no agenda or structure for accountability like this one, it will indeed be a long haul. The next community safety town hall is scheduled for Wednesday, March 23rd, which was this past 2 days ago, at 6 p.m. at the Chicago State University on the South Side. According to Lightfoot's daily schedule, she was in attendance. Now, there was an interesting article linked through this particular story at Tribe, specifically regarding Mayor Lightfoot. And let me pull that article up. Okay. Get the screen up here too. Is it there? Yeah. Okay. Pull the screen up. This was an interview that was conducted last year between Bella Boz and Mayor Lightfoot. And this was from May 20th of 2021. I'm not going to read the whole article or the whole interview, but there was some interesting stuff here that she shares in regard to her reflections on the interview with Lightfoot. "I came to the interview wanting to get to the nitty-gritty. On national news outlets, Lightfoot has presented herself as a truly progressive Black queer woman mayor. But I specifically wanted to know more about her understanding of Black liberation movements and the demands within them. When I asked her which Black Chicago liberation struggle resonated most with her, she didn't mention any of the Black queer-led movements to end criminalization of Black LGBTOIA people and dismantle systems that perpetuate institutional racism and intersectional oppression. Instead, she told me about her brother Brian Lightfoot's 17-year stint in a federal prison for possession of an intent to distribute crack cocaine. You mentioned, for example, formerly incarcerated individuals. This is something that's very personal to me," Lightfoot said before naming her brother. "I know he came out of that experience traumatized because he didn't get access to good health care. He didn't get access to the kind of job training and skills that he needed. And he didn't get access to a transition plan so that when he came out, he'd actually be able to land on his feet and not recidivate. He didn't get access to addiction counseling and support that he needed to keep him away from narcotics. So that's something very near and dear to me." These are all solutions that she wanted for her brother after he got out of prison. Nothing proactive there. Lightfoot also spoke about the black men she represented pro bono as a defense attorney, although she offered nothing about the ones she prosecuted as a federal prosecutor. As a black woman, as a woman, as a lawyer who's fought hard for justice for people who've been wrongfully incarcerated, for immigrants and refugees, the struggles that I am most aligned with are those where we see wrong, we don't take no for an answer, and we fight like hell to change things around, she explained. I asked what she's doing to help the ever-growing population of black Chicagoans faced with post-conviction struggles. In a couple of weeks, she said, her administration will make an official announcement about new programs to support returning citizens. For the last 6 to 8 weeks, she's commissioned a working group to create a comprehensive plan of recommendations to holistically address the issues and unique challenges facing people newly released from prison. These challenges have been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. The working group includes Safer Foundation and Cara Chicago. Now, once again, this is from May of last year, so this is a year old. Also, she talked a little bit with the mayor about her background and upbringing. Lori Lightfoot doesn't come from the same world that many black Chicagoans, like the author of this article, did. She grew up in a small town of Massillon, Ohio, 50 miles south of Cleveland. She was raised in a predominantly white community, attending well-resourced, predominantly white schools throughout her life. When she was class president in high school, one of the biggest issues she and her peers faced was bland cafeteria food. In 2019,
cafeteria food's always going to be bland.
Does this explain some things about her disconnect with the South and West Sides and how she's legislating here in Chicago as mayor? In 2019, Lightfoot told WTTW-TV that she felt the most black during her 3 years in Hyde Park as a student at the University of Chicago Law School. I'm from out west, and not many black people I know can relate to that, said the author of this article. I wanted to know more about which black community spaces she frequents on the west and south sides. If you follow black and brown businesses across the city on social media, what you're going to see is a trail of where I've been, Lightfoot said, without naming a single black business on the west side and pausing before naming one south side business. I make sure that I'm dining in black-owned restaurants, whether it's Pearls in Bronzeville or a nice little ice cream shop that's open up nearby. Of course, I go to the west side haunts as well. I didn't know a whole lot about the mayor's background or where she grew up, but I think this explains a lot regarding her worldview, regarding her alignments, regarding her inability to really connect and do anything proactive on the South and West sides, as she claims now with these city town hall meetings she wants to do after the past 3 years of her service as mayor. Gentlemen, your thoughts? Any? Don't have to be.
Edward, you want to shoot first? Go ahead, buddy.
I don't have anything to add to this. Sorry.
That's all right.
The disconnect is real.
Yeah, and that
I mean, what else can we say about the disconnect? But yeah. It's bigger than that. It really says a lot about all of America's political system at this point, and all of these politicians. Now, to be fair, there's maybe a small handful of and I'm talking nationwide. Small handful of politicians, be they current or former, that did their job and actually cared about the constituents. But they're a small minority. And there are a handful of politicians in Chicago, I'll be bold enough to say, that actually do care. Shout out to Byron Cinco Lopez, who actually stood in solidarity with the Neighbors for Environmental Justice when it came down to that press conference about the Mad Asphalt Plan, where they're getting a $500 million contract from the city of Chicago. You know that asphalt plant's operating without a permit, and no one in the city of Chicago, state of Illinois, or Cook County informed the residents of the 12th ward that the Mad Asphalt plant was being built. But yet somehow, they get that $500 million contract. Talk about the disconnect. By the way, speaking of disconnect, Mayor Lightfoot talked about, building a strong Chicago environmental protection agency. But yet the alderman is in charge is also the alderman of the 12th ward, who's willingly turned a blind eye because it's connected with the Mad Asphalt plant. And now there's a lot of industrial pollution happening.
Speaking of environmental justice, transitioning into our next story. Thank you for that handoff, Kit. Pilsen kids ask EPA head to protect them from massive amounts of pollutants in the air we breathe. This comes from Brett Chase at the Sun-Times. After about a 30-minute standoff with EPA staff and security, 6 children from Pilsen were allowed to meet with Administrator Deborah Shore about pollution concerns, saying they can't take any more air pollution in Pilsen because it's making them sick. A group of 6 children hand-delivered a letter to the top environmental official in Chicago Wednesday, asking her to promise to conduct a comprehensive health study of the community before any new government approvals for a long-time scrap metal operation is allowed. Deborah Shore, the regional administrator for the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, agreed to briefly meet the children and discuss their concern about Sims Metal Management, a polluting business that is seeking multiple government operating approvals after being found to violate air pollution laws. Shore said she'd meet with additional community representatives and discuss the study idea with other government officials, but stopped short of guaranteeing such a health analysis would be done. Sims shreds and transports large amounts of metal, including scrap cars, emitting tons of chemicals and other contaminants into the air annually. The limits are required to be controlled so they don't harm the public. Including the children, more than 20 protesters demonstrated outside the EPA regional office at 77 West Jackson Boulevard and demanded to meet with Shore. After about a 30-minute standoff with EPA staff and security, imagine that, a standoff with security and children. After the 30-minute standoff, the children were allowed to enter the building with a pair of adults and deliver their letter. This is my school backpack. Inside, sometimes I have pencils and crayons. Sometimes my homework is in there too. I sometimes carry a lunch, but I always have to carry this. This is my asthma inhaler, said 8-year-old Apollonia Jackson of Pilsen, holding up her breathing device outside the building.
No.
I think that was a very nice demonstration on Apollonia's part.
I know. I'm just thinking. She doesn't have to go through this. That's what I'm saying.
She doesn't have to, but the fact that she has to shows how fucking tone deaf these people are, unwilling to even let these kids come through and express their concerns. Yeah, these kids shouldn't even have to come through and express because they know there's a fucking problem.
Yeah, I know. So let me be clear here. Like I'm listening to this story from this kid, and I know you're reading the article, but it's just like,
I know.
In a better world, that kid should be just focusing on homework, talking to their friends, all that good stuff, regular stuff, not stuff that, hey, politicians, clean air, clean water, clean environment, things that normally make sense. It's just, the sickness in this city is that we have corrupt politicians, but there are so many good people in Chicago. We don't have people that will fight for us because they're just that weak. The people are strong. And it's because there's good people.
Chicago isn't beyond saving. Give me more time. There are good people here.
Yes. That's the Batman I care about. I don't want to talk about that other Batman. Anyways, let's focus back on the story.
Do you remember that video of the kids who went to visit that ancient relic, Dianne Feinstein, in her office, and they were talking about environmental issues, and she was literally talking them down?
Yeah, she had her arms folded like
insulting them. Yeah, just she would have none of these kids coming into her office expressing their concerns because she knew better.
Yeah,
this ancient relic who should be in a nursing home, who it's alleged to have dementia while she's serving in Congress. That's how these politicians and these leaders, they don't give a shit about these kids because they're going to be dead. It's not going to be their problem by the time these kids have the illnesses and the ailments that they're not preventing by putting these safeguards in place.
And Jerry, it's more ridiculous that these kids had to wait 30 minutes outside being held back by security to talk to the EPA. It's not like they were outside, the metal shredding place, the Sims place. They were outside the EPA. And in case that those letters are new to you, ladies and gentlemen, it stands for Environmental Protection Agency.
And they serve us. They're supposed to represent us. They're not supposed to tell us when we can or can't talk to them because their job is to protect us. And every level of civil service, they're up here looking down at us. And how dare we open our mouths when we ask them to do their goddamn jobs that they're getting paid for with our tax dollars.
Yeah, I mean, you should not be running or in charge of any part of the EPA, not even a regional office, if you're not actually interested in protecting the environment. This should be a no-brainer.
Well, should be. You know what, Ed? They know this. They just don't care. They all know this. They know that they're not supposed to be there if that's not what they're going to be doing, but they don't care. It's money and power.
They should change the letters to the EMA and call it the Environmental Management Agency, which is really what they are.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. Torches, pitchforks, guillotines. When?
And lava-based solutions.
When? If we can't come to peaceful solutions through peaceful protest, what was it, Kennedy or Martin Luther King Jr. that said civil unrest? I remember I forgot the exact quote, but essentially
I believe it was Kennedy.
Kennedy. The gist of it is that, violent revolution happens when peaceful protest is ignored, or words to that effect.
Yeah.
When they're not listening to people peacefully protesting, that's when the shit hits the fan. And I know we don't want to advocate for that, but what other goddamn solutions are people being given in the middle of a pandemic? We still couldn't get Medicare for all.
Yeah, we couldn't get it because AOC said it's violence. And John F. Kennedy said this: those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable.
Thank you. JFK was right. I know you're not a big fan of JFK, Kit, but
I know that's a conversation we'll have for another day. But
I agree with him on this. I agree with him on this quote.
Yeah, his moments. It's a long story. I don't want to get into.
I'll just say that our local politicians and the people in different areas of power are extremely lucky that there is a supply chain issue making tomatoes expensive as hell,
and gas to go to the grocery store to buy them.
Yeah.
All right. Apollonia and her 4-year-old brother Junie, and their mother Tanya Lozano, along with 4 other children, were allowed to go inside and were allowed. They were allowed to go inside.
Allowed.
And present a letter to Shore that said residents are inundated with factories, trains, and trucks pouring massive amounts of pollutants into the air we breathe. Shore shook Apollonia's hand. The letter, signed by more than a dozen Southwest Side community and religious groups, said the cumulative impact of the largely Latino, heavily industrial area weighs on the health of its residents, especially children who go to school near pollutants such as SIMS. How, in this day and age, are these scrap metal factories, pollution factories, allowed within any proximity to a school, let alone a residential community? It just boggles the mind. We have 6 railroad switching yards in our community near grade schools, the letter said. We have 10 times the amount of asthma among our children that people in white middle-class communities have. Somewhere, a line must be drawn to let polluters and politicians know that our community will no longer be the toilet bowl for the entire region. Bravo to them. Bravo to them. I like the language that they use. In an interview...
Oh, okay. I think I get what Kathy's saying here.
Yeah, I know, Kathy. We're still in it.
About distancing, that the security may be because of distancing restrictions and that kind of stuff.
I doubt
maybe.
I doubt that's what it was, though, Kathy. Come on.
Maybe.
I doubt that's what it was about. I think it was about control. I don't think that they wanted to entertain what these kids. This was reported on today, so obviously, they wanted to avoid some kind of scene here. In an interview, Shore said a health study would need to be conducted with the state and city of Chicago. She said the Illinois EPA is continuing to work with SIMS on installing pollution controls. Now, remember, the Illinois EPA also the other plant that just got shut down, the recycling plant. General Iron. All right. The Illinois EPA. The Illinois EPA approved General Iron. Remember, until they pulled the permit.
Yeah.
So it's the same EPA that's continuing to work with SIMS on installing pollution controls. The EPA delegates a lot of pollution enforcement and permitting to state agencies such as the Illinois EPA. Community members, however, believe that a health study should be done first, and that such an analysis should determine whether Sims should be able to continue operating at 2500 South Paulina Street along the Chicago River in Pilsen. The study will determine whether any new permits for any industry should be added to what we already have, the letter said. Sims officials didn't officially respond to requests for comment. Of course, they never do. And you know what? If you wanted to build some I don't know, goodwill with the community, wouldn't you respond? Say, yeah, well, maybe we are looking into this. They're stonewalling because they don't want to. They don't care. And they're probably also expecting that the EPA is going to let their permits just fly right through as they did General Iron until it took a year of protests and community organizers to get their permits pulled. A comprehensive health study was conducted on the southwest side last year to determine the fate of a city operating permit for a similar business, the relocated General Iron. Last month, Mayor Lori Lightfoot's administration rejected that business's permit application. So this came to us by Brett Chase at the Chicago Sun-Times. Now, on a similar note, talking about environmental justice, boom. Kit, I know you're going to have a lot to say about this. Madison Saavedra at Block Club Chicago reports similarly neighbors, other community organizers like these, or other protesters like these kids, went to the EPA. Neighbors slammed the McKinley Park asphalt plant's bid for $500 million city contract. It's relevant to us that Chicago puts heavy industry in black and brown neighborhoods, a community organizer said. The city must take responsibility for the environmental impact of its vendors and not turn them into toilets, as those children's letter said to the EPA. From McKinley Park, Southwest Side residents and environmental advocates want Chicago leaders to impose stricter environmental reviews for potential contractors after a controversial company put in a $500 million bid to supply the city's asphalt for the next 5 years. Matt Asphalt, 2055 West Pershing, submitted its bid earlier this month to supply city crews with materials for repaving streets, alleys, and potholes. Neighbors who have long protested the company and its environmental effects on the area said they're concerned Matt Asphalt will ramp up production if it wins the contract. Of course they will. It would be environmental racism for the city to accept Matt's bid, said Alfredo Romo, executive director for community groups Neighbors for Environmental Justice. I said this before, Ed, and I reiterate, I think we just need to start filling those potholes with our aldermen, our alder people.
Here's the thing when I look at the Matt Asphalt plant, and it's insult a $500 million city contract. Governor J.B. Pritzker in 2018, you ran on having a strong Illinois Environmental Protection Agency. You did that photo op at McKinley Park at the community garden just before the Matt Asphalt plant was constructed. What is your administration going to do to hold that asphalt plant being constructed accountable? No one in the state of Illinois, city of Chicago, or Cook County informed the residents of its construction. It is operating without a permit. Mayor Lightfoot, what is your administration going to do to protect the constituents of the 12th Ward? You ran on a strong environmental protection agency for the city of Chicago. The alderman is connected with this Matt Asphalt plant of the 12th Ward. I have to say this. The failure of not only the city government, but of the state government right now. This asphalt plant was built without the community being informed. There is heavy truck traffic going in and out. There are 2 schools near that area. There is a 70-acre green space known as McKinley Park there. There are homes, apartment buildings. There are people living there. And there's an asphalt plant that is polluting that community. This isn't a debate. Governor Pritzker, Mayor Lightfoot, what are you going to do? I'm pretty sure Mayor Lightfoot and Governor J.B. Pritzker wouldn't like it if an asphalt plant was built in their community and they didn't know about it. I'm pretty sure the alderman, well, hey, alderman, this is happening in your backyard. Why is this happening, and why are they operating without permits still?
It's not like we don't have industrial regions throughout the city of Chicago that are not within proximity to residential communities or schools. You could easily zone specifically for these types of businesses. If these asphalt plants, recycling plants have to function, fine, but you just don't do it in South or West Side communities or any fucking community where there are schools and people living there. There's all kinds of open land across the South Lakefront in South Chicago, Indiana, along the lake. I mean, we see where all the old steel mills were and stuff. There's a lot of land that could be used for industrial use that's nowhere near these communities. And I don't understand why they don't just develop that land for these necessary services, as opposed to just expect people are going to accept living around them and getting sick and breathing this shit that doesn't just affect those communities, but ultimately floats across the rest of the city. Romo said, and organizers urged city leaders to thoroughly review environmental compliance records for all vendors, considering the environmental impact of a vendor, and allow neighbors to provide public comment on a potential contract. We can't keep pretending the cost of air pollution in these communities is free, Romo said. We want a public comment period so the people who live in the affected areas get a chance to speak out about what this contract will mean for them. City officials, what do you think they did? They did not respond to a request for comment. There are 4 companies vying for the contract, according to city records. Neighbors have opposed the matte asphalt plant since it came to the neighborhood in 2018, blindsiding many residents and public officials who said they were never told the company was coming to the area or applying for a pollution permit. Hundreds of complaints about the plant have been filed with the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency. Blah, 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 blah. We know what's going on. We've talked about matte asphalt literally maybe once a month, if not twice a month, or any of the other environmental polluters across the city and state. That's what's going on, and we got more people.
I just have a dream one day that one day that asphalt plant will be removed, and you know what I want in our studio? Just a sign of the matte, because there's fences with the matte asphalt plant. I want a big X on that sign and have it in the studio framed up as a victory. The people who are part of Neighbors for Environmental Justice, everyone watching this right now, please be sure to follow them on Twitter. They've been leading this cause. They recently did a press conference on Facebook on Tuesday this week. Please check them out. Support them. Follow them. It's the matte asphalt plant and all of these industrial facilities on the south side of Chicago, on the west side of Chicago, are an insult to those communities. I'm a proud south sider of Chicago. And you know what, Jerry? I know there's a lot of people on the north side that stand in solidarity with us too.
Yeah, of course.
No one wants this. No one wants this for their community. Now, look, I get that there needs to be industry, okay? We're not there yet to make things more efficient, but my goodness, can't we invest into our infrastructure and make things more permanent? Can't we make things something better? I mean, do we have to waste them on war or bailing out the banks and corporations? Can't we not invest them in the people? Can we have clean air, clean water, clean communities? Is that a bridge too far? Because if it is a bridge too far, when these politicians ask me to, sacrifice for my country or, do something for the country, what are you doing for me? And look, and I'm going to take that quote from JFK who said, ask not what you can do, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. Hey, JFK, I hate to take this away from you, but what is my country doing for me? Because the American people collectively, even here in this city, have done so much, and we get so little in return.
Suffered so much. And you know what, Kit? This isn't even about me worrying about those pollutants drifting across the city to the north side, okay? Nobody on the south or west sides should be faced with this, period. It's just the wrong thing to burden anybody with, let alone families and children. The right thing to do is to just say no. Look, it's going to take a while for that crap to get up here anyway. I don't want people who are on the forefront right there in front of it to suffer. It's unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. And the way that the Illinois EPA or Pritzker or Lightfoot, they give out the permits and they pull the permits when people have to spend all their time protesting to protect themselves and their families and their children against all of this, the environmental contaminants and pollutants in the air. It's just, people should not have to fight this much for what's right. Do we notice what a struggle it is in this society, this city, this nation? It shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be this hard to struggle for what's right, yet it always is. And I don't understand that. No, I do understand it. What I don't understand is how to stop it from happening, how to change course so that it's not hard to fight for what's right, or how to replace our representation with people who understand it's about doing what's right, not what enriches them or their donors or their cronies or their buddies or their friends at United Airlines or Boeing or whoever's doing business with the city of Chicago. or matte asphalt now, as we're about to see with this contract that they want to get. It's just unacceptable. Simple as that. Kathy Powers in the live chat. Can't they make these industries safe? I'll bet they could. I don't know the answer to that, Kathy, but until that happens, they need to be operating in spaces that are far away from residential communities where kids are in schools or where people are living. So maybe they can. I don't know. Okay, shifting into our last story.
This is a horrifying nightmare.
Yep.
I heard this, and I'm like, my God.
Lakeshore Drive could get bus-only lanes, tolls, and more lakefront park space in proposed overhaul. A planned rebuild of Lakeshore Drive north of Grand Avenue has been in the works for nearly a decade. Here are the 5 design proposals. The fact that they're even mentioning tolls on Lakeshore Drive. And do you know, it's congested enough as it is. Any one of these variations on their plans look like it's just going to be another congested clusterfuck. Plus, how many years or decades is it going to take to do this renovation of Lakeshore Drive under any of these design plans? The Jane Byrne interchange has now taken longer to complete than we were in World War II, and we expect these clowns to be able to finish Lakeshore Drive in any notable amount of time that's not going to tie up traffic. Well, construction is going on the expressways on the other side of town.
It's here's the thing. Okay. When I first heard this story, I was so close to calling you to say, Jerry, quit fucking around. Post a real story. This is a joke. Lakeshore Drive. And then I realized, wait a minute. This is from Block Club Chicago. They do great work. I urge everyone to subscribe to them and check out their work. And then my heart sank. I'm like, oh God, no. Oh God, oh God, oh man, oh God, oh man. It's like a quote from Tough Guys Don't Dance. Oh God, oh man, oh God, oh man. They're really freaking serious about this. For those of you who don't know,
look at my arrow on the screen really quickly. Look at my arrow on the screen. That's the plan that's going to involve the tolls. 2 lanes where buses and cars that pay tolls are going to be granted access, while they reduce the lanes to 3 on each side of the
That's so
lanes.
fucking stupid. It's the dumbest thing I ever heard. This city is desperate for cash, and that's one that Lakeshore Drive is one of the main arteries in the city of Chicago. The fact that some dumbass decided to put this on and said, hey, let's do this. Somebody should have pulled that dude over and said, the next time you bring up a dumb idea like this, I'm going to throw you out the fucking window. This will cause traffic jams. It will not be completed in time, because we've seen construction move at a snail's pace in this city. And why put more headache under the people of Chicago? I mean, we are one of the most heavily taxed cities there. Now what? We got to pay to use Lakeshore Drive when it's been free.
You said
for most of my life.
You said a moment ago, Kit, they're desperate for cash. Are they? Are they? I don't think they're desperate for cash. I think they just can't get enough. I just think they can't get enough. I think that they've got so much to spread around amongst themselves that doesn't actually go to where it's supposed to go, to city services, to stabilizing neighborhoods. There are going to be a lot of construction companies that I'm sure the lobbyists who are married to perhaps our Cook County treasurers or whoever are going to get these contracts and make a lot of money off of it. Okay.
Wait.
Let me read from the article real quick, and then we can go into.
Can I
Please,
one last thing? One last thing about Lakeshore Drive, right? Right. So let's look at it. It's called Jean Baptiste Point du Sable Lakeshore Drive.
No,
right?
it's not. It's Lakeshore Drive.
No, wait. No, hear me out.
All right.
John, hey, City of Chicago, way to smear and disrespect the legacy of Jean Baptiste Point du Sable by trying to profit off his name. How dare you, City of Chicago? I'm going to twist on it. How dare you, Chicago? How simply dare you? A road, a main artery of Chicago, and you're going to capitalize on one of the founders of this city? Shame on all the people that greenlit this idea.
Well, it hasn't been greenlit yet, but they are exploring it. This comes from Joe Ward. Plans to overhaul the northern leg of Lakeshore Drive are coming into focus as city and state officials unveiled 5 redesign proposals under consideration for the massive project. The city and state's transportation agencies have worked since 2013 on the Redefine the Drive plan to reconstruct Lakeshore Drive from Grand to Hollywood Avenues. Much of the road was built in the 1930s, though it has been repaved and widened. Many of its bridges and tunnels are deteriorating. Okay, fix those. Lofty plans for the redesign have been floated in recent years, including tunneling Lakeshore Drive under Oak Street Beach or adding acres of lakefront space to help smooth out its infamous S-curve. The designs being considered have shed some of those grander plans while retaining elements such as added lakefront green space, reworked interchanges, and a greater emphasis on public transportation. The Lakeshore Drive design alternatives being considered, the essential, this is our first column over here, keeps much of the existing street configuration while giving buses priority at junctions. Here's my arrow here so you can kind of look down there. The addition retains 4 lines of traffic while adding a 5th line exclusively for buses. That's the second column. There's a little bus. He's got his own special little lane there. The exchange converts 1 of 4 lanes into a bus-only lane. There you go there. Little bus got his own lane now. Converts 1 lane into a dedicated transit lane, unlike the other one which adds a dedicated transit lane. I don't know what the difference is between adding and dedicating it. The buses are going to be using those lanes. I guess maybe addition means cars can be in it also, but it's always going to Kit, I think your head's going to explode there. I think you're giving yourself a headache. All right.
There are other cities that do that, like the bus only or limited access lanes. You know, I don't know whether that actually helps or hurts.
Here's the worst idea. The Flex converts 1 of 4 lanes into a shared lane for buses and toll-paying drivers. The Double Flex converts 2 of 4 lanes for bus and toll traffic.
It's a flex, all right.
There's going to be so many accidents. There's going to be so many disasters on Lakeshore. Listen, I've driven Lakeshore Drive early in the morning too, when because I have seen Lakeshore Drive at 0 dark 30 in the morning. Okay.
Yeah, I have too.
I know, but like I said, sometimes you see things that normally should not be seen, and I will dare not say it, where you see accidents, right? And that's as far as I'm going to go. Right? But I see this leading to so many accidents, so many people getting hurt. This is a bad idea. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, it is broke, but you can't fix it better than it is right now, as I think what it comes down to. I mean, look, this is a main artery of the city. To shut it down for any of these 5 plans is going to shut down how people can get to work. Consider this also. What's the other main artery? The Kennedy Expressway from the north side into the city, right? Yeah. You're either limited to, I got to take the expressway, I'm going to take Lakeshore Drive to get downtown. Or if you're smart and know how to navigate the inner city, maybe take Ashland, cut around town, Elston, stuff like that. But even then, you're going to be dealing with a lot of traffic from the stop and go of the lights. I guarantee. What do we say in Chicago? It's either winter or it's construction season. So we're going to shut down Lakeshore Drive with this while construction goes on the expressway. Every proposal but the quote-unquote essential, which is the first column, would require new access ramps in the center median of Lakeshore Drive, which currently has 4 lanes of traffic in each direction. All of the proposals would increase Lakeshore Drive's footprint, but the lakefront would still have more green space with a rebuilt roadway. Redefine the Drive project planner said at a virtual meeting Thursday. Each redesign would add at least 83 acres of green space to the lakefront, and much of that would be through lake infill that would extend the lakefront park into Lake Michigan, project planner said. So not only are we going to tie up Lakeshore Drive, we're going to tie up the entire lakefront, all the parks right now.
And how many years is this going to take for them to finish? And then by then, all the lakes and oceans will have risen about 5 feet, and they'll have to do it over again.
All of the proposals would improve. We can't even keep our up in Evanston with the way that the lake and the shoreline is buffeting the beaches up there, right? I mean, we're already trying to control what the impact of the lake is on Lakeshore Drive and the lakefront. All of the proposals would improve public transit performance on Lakeshore Drive, though two designs, the Exchange and the Double Flex, here we go, these two here, would slow down cars, according to Thursday's presentation. That's partly by design, as the goal of the project is to prioritize buses on the road. Adding extra green space to the lakefront make the roadway more resilient to climate damage, said David Miller, engineer with the Chicago Department of Transportation. The status quo is not working, and accessibility for people with disabilities and others that is so important to make sure the lakefront becomes more accessible to everyone, Miller said. I'm disabled. You want to help us put bridges, repair the tunnel underpasses to get to the lakefront. That's all you got to do. You don't need to do this bullshit. This is ridiculous. The way it's going to disenfranchise everybody, not just to say, I mean, to use disabled people as an excuse to move forward with this is shameful. Okay, this is not about making it more accessible for people with disabilities. They're dangling that as a reason that, well, you can't really argue with us because to do that means you might not want to help people with disabilities. It's bullshit. On top of a new streetscape, other critical changes are coming to Lakeshore Drive. Caught that. The existing junction at Chicago Avenue will be reconfigured, urban planners said. A stoplight at Chicago leads to major backups on the drive. And I think Kathy mentioned something about this regarding that stoplight. Didn't you, Kathy, in the chat? I'm trying to go back here. There it is. An additional junction also is coming to Addison Street. At Addison and Chicago, the drive may go below grade to improve the junctions, officials said. Engineers will also smooth out the drive's S-curve around Oak Street Beach, which is already a complete parking lot if you try to go through it. A new configuration near the beach in Chicago Street will likely include bringing Lakeshore Drive somewhat below street level, project officials said, but it will not include a previous proposal to build a tunnel near the beach that would be covered by newly created park space. Such proposals were too expensive to move forward, city officials previously said, like this is just going to be a drop in the bucket. The 5 design proposals were discussed at a task force meeting to redefine the drive, officials Thursday. Planners will continue to evaluate them for feasibility, Miller said. Officials hope to select a preferred design by the fall. Oh my God, they're going to move forward with this in the fall. A public meeting on the project is scheduled to take place in late 22 or early 2023. We should go.
Yeah.
We gotta
go. Oh, we gotta go.
Funding for the project still needs to be identified before construction moves forward.
They don't even have money for it yet.
No,
or they don't have money earmarked for it yet.
Weirdness. This came from Streets Blog Chicago, in which they mentioned. So if there's one portion of the drive that I would say absolutely might need some address, it's the Belmont bottleneck. That's something that needs to be. If you're going to fix something, fix that. Think small.
And that's something they've already tried to address because you know that the Belmont exit is a lot different than it used to be years back.
Right.
They made the exit better, but it's still a bottleneck.
Yeah. Oh, the meeting including an hour-long presentation, which included Nathan Roseberry, CDOT and Assistant Chief Highway Engineer, Alderman Tom Tooney of the 44th, Alderman James Krappelman of the 46th, Kimberly Murphy, consultant to IDOT based in Schaumburg, and Mike Fulkening, IDOT Director of Urban Design and Traffic. I got to say, guys, when I saw IDOT, I thought it said Idiot Director of Urban Design and Traffic. Because that's probably what he is with these proposals.
As far as traffic bottlenecks go, I mean, that's going to happen during rush hour, whether you want it to or not. There's not a whole lot you can do to avoid that if you've got people leaving work all at the same time.
Yeah. Let me read something from the article here, which is interesting because they're blaming this project on feedback from residents. Tooney opened the meeting stating that changes to the plan for this part of the project were influenced by feedback from residents. He acknowledged that the Belmont intersection with Lakeshore Drive has been an unsafe intersection for many years. There's heavy traffic there from cars and bus drivers entering and leaving the highway. Okay, Belmont agreed. Krappelman noted that there are many points of view on what the new Lakeshore Drive should look like. When you have 10 Chicagoans, you'll have 11 strong opinions. He added that this is the time to dream big, noting that we should plan for transportation system of the future, which will hopefully be less car-centric. Children born today may grow up not to know what a steering wheel is. Krappelman said.
So they're basically hoping that everything's going to turn into public transportation, buses, and self-driving cars.
Right. Driverless cars. The presentation reviewed the feedback the planners had received from neighbors at an earlier Lakeview meeting. Unfortunately, much of the discussion revolves around solving the Belmont traffic bottleneck rather than focusing on the needs of people walking and riding bikes. Okay, you know what? That's what sidewalks are for. That's what bike lanes are for. This is a street for motorized vehicles, not a sidewalk or bike lane for people walking and riding bikes. And for them to, this just drives me crazy, guys. I walk and I bike, and the privilege that pedestrians and bikers seem to think that they deserve around motorized vehicle streets and lanes and roads, it just boggles my mind. We're already bending over backwards to like limit the amount of lanes and streets to accommodate bicyclists, right? And I understand people want to go green and they want a bicycle, and it's about health and it's about exercise. That's fine. But it just seems to be the predominant talking point now when it comes. Do we really need to engage and accommodate all that all the time at the risk of congesting traffic even more? I don't know. I mean, I don't think so personally, but anyway, we talked about the different corridor widening alternatives, and the rest of this article goes on to say that the project team added that it is reviewing the potential to toll general purpose lanes for all 5 remaining alternatives as part of a project funding plan. There's where the money's going to come from, Kit. The plan will review tolling alongside the plan will review tolling alongside other alternatives for project funding and will present recommendation to the public with the next round of public engagement. So they're going to keep in mind, they're going to narrow the lanes and they're going to toll people for the privilege of driving slower while they also figure out how they're going to accommodate pedestrians and bicyclists. That's their plan. Doesn't sound like a great plan. This Tony Stark.
Be a failure.
Not a great plan. An attendee noted cities across the world used the drop in traffic during the COVID-19 pandemic as an opportunity to make massive changes to the public realm to the benefit of pedestrians by shifting the focus away from cars. They wondered why Chicago isn't one of them, because the pandemic is not going to last forever, and because we still have people that use cars to get across the city from the north side to the south side, into Indiana, into Wisconsin, from Chicago, from Lakeshore Drive, along Sheridan. This is just madness. Another attendee said, why aren't these designs bus and pedestrian centered? Why are Chicago's concerns always driver first? Working with feedback received at previous meetings, and I know I'm going to get some pushback in the live chat, I just haven't looked yet. Working with feedback received at previous meetings, 20 initial designs were put forward, then narrowed down to the 5 corridor designs. All residents interested in adding their voice to the project can reach out directly by sending their comments to info@northlakeshoredrive.org. That's info@northlakeshoredrive.org, not info@Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Lakeshore Drive.org, but it's info@northlakeshoredrive.org.
Hey, way to be disrespectful to Jean-Baptiste du Sable. How dare you? Everyone trying to put these goddamn toll roads in the city. It's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
Thank you,
How
Kathy.
dare you?
That's exactly what Krappelman's plan is. You know exactly what he's going to be, what his agenda is behind the scenes. I was thinking that also. This is more development for Krappelman and all of his cronies that are seizing up space.
Krappelman. There we go. Let's call it crap. Let's emphasize the R. And Illinois says this is what happens when you privatize our infrastructure. Yep, it is. Oh, it is.
They probably left his name out of the website link because a lot of people end up leaving the E off of point.
Yeah, probably. That's true. So this guy, I think he's going to do another gas giveaway because the last one this past, what was it, yesterday? I guess they had a little bit more control over it yesterday.
A little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, it was more or less how I predicted it was going to go. We knew there was still going to be some traffic backups, but it wasn't as bad because they handed out those golden tickets, and they handed out the golden tickets, and then
I'll never forget that interview I did with him.
and the other thing, and the other thing that helped was that they had people pumping the gas for everybody, so they didn't have to get out of their cars, so they were in and out a lot faster.
Kathy in the chat asks, why not South Lakeshore Drive? Because Krappelman and his developers don't want to redevelop South Lakeshore Drive. That's not that's black and brown territory, Kathy. You think all the rich white capitalists want to go develop and take advantage of those communities? I mean, I'm sure they want to take advantage of the communities, but it's much easier for them to decide to take green lands up on the north side here next to North Lakeshore Drive. Capitalists are bringing back bridge tolls. Yep. Yes, they are. All right, guys, another end of another fun Friday night show, or I should say fun Friday night bitch fest. Did we come up with any solutions? I guess we had a solution with no to the Lakeshore Drive proposals, but
don't do it at all. Just don't do it. Stop. Get help. Think about it. What was that Michael Jordan commercial? He said, "Stop. Get help." Like I don't know. Like there you go. Stop. Get help.
Kit, anything you want to share with our audience before we close the show from Birdlands?
Yes. So first and foremost, earlier this week, Harlan's Media got an unfair strike by YouTube. We won against that strike. It was victorious.
As you always do, because those strikes are bullshit.
They are. But we will be making some new changes to the show, and when we go live, I'll be talking about that with you in private, Jerry, after the show, just a few minutes of your time. But we're also going to be changing how we do the live streams as well, because I am tired of playing with YouTube's game. They want to play the stupid game with me. I'll play the stupid game with them right back.
How does the live stream impact what's happening with the strikes?
Well,
that's what I'm clear on.
Here's the thing. YouTube said that we were on the live stream that was taken down because it wasn't a clip. It was a live stream show that was taken down. And YouTube was saying that we said that, Biden wasn't president, and we never said that. So we right now we're going to be changing how we do the show, and I'm just done. So we're not done with YouTube, but we're going to be changing things on how we do our show and programming. And I'm very excited about this. It's long overdue that we make this change and what we do for the show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what's going to happen afterwards and getting some more details.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. With that, we're going to close the show. Thank you both for sticking around. We went a little bit longer tonight, but that's what she said. There was a lot to talk about this evening, and I always enjoy the fact that we can kind of do a Joe Rogan, let's just talk until we're done talking about what we need to talk about, instead of being limited with, we have to meet time or something. So, all right, guys, to my viewing audience out there, I want to thank you again for joining us this evening. As we go into the weekend, please be safe, watch out for each other, be vigilant, take care of each other. We'll return on next Tuesday with updates on news and commentary on all the fun things happening in the city of Chicago. And remember, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner with my colleagues and myself and little Oreo. All right, everybody. You have a good night and take care.